G'day team, my name's Ethan from Get Going, and today I'm going to run you guys through a webinar on goal setting. Goal setting, besides SMART goals, we don't talk a lot about it. I think you've probably, if you've been interested in goal setting before, you've probably heard the things like SMART goals. And I think that is a very small part of setting goals. I'm sure I don't need to explain the massive importance behind why you need to set goals, but I think especially as a fitness community, I think the level of success that we have in our achievement of what it is we're after kind of comes down to the level of effort we put into our goals. Now, what I'm going to run you through today is 3 parts, and I've been thinking about how to best explain this in a time, with the short time frame we have. And I think these 3 areas summarize what you need to know as like a bare minimum when you're setting goals. Now, this is not going to be airy-fairy. I'm not just going to throw a few things at you. Hopefully that by the end of this webinar, you'll go, okay, wow, this is actually really tangible and I can put these things into practice. So 3 parts. First part is understanding a goal. Okay. Now what that means is understanding in terms of like why that goal is important to us. And I think we're going to spend a little bit of time on this one, and probably majority of the webinar, because I think this is the thing that people have the least experience with. The other 2 sections, creating your goal and achieving your goal, are things that I think are spoken about more frequently. Okay. Now it's very important that you know why you're setting your goal, that you choose the right goal for you, and you have a plan to achieve it. Those are the 3 steps, and those are the 3 things that we're going to cover. So, oh, that's annoying. I don't know why. I don't know if you're seeing my screen. It says understanding your goal. So there's a few things. There's 4 bits we're going to cover in this. The first thing I want to cover is why clarity matters. Now, when you think about setting a goal, right, you a lot of the time will just write something that you feel like you want to achieve. So let's say, for example, I want to achieve a 10K run, right? It just might be something I want to do. I don't even know why. I just feel like I would like to do that. Okay. Now, the thing is a lot of the time as people, we set goals that aren't true to ourselves. And before we can set goals, we need to actually understand who we are as people. And to understand who we are as people, we need to dig deep into things like clarity, values, values, behaviors, extrinsic and intrinsic motivators, right? So there's a bit of an exercise I like to do before we even think about setting the goal, because there's no point working hard towards a goal that isn't actually true to ourselves. And this is a lot of the time what I think people get wrong with the concept of success, right? Like success is subjective to your own interpretation of what you want to achieve. However, we end up chasing other people's idea of success. And the way that I describe this is like the compass theory, right? If you were to grab a compass and you were to look towards, magnetic north, and you were out 2 degrees or 1 degree, you're going to end up completely different location if you were to travel around the world. Now, if you think about goals, if we don't have the true clarity behind why we're wanting to achieve something, then we end up chasing the wrong goal. We chase our neighbor's goal. We chase the idea behind a goal might be completely different to what we actually want. And that leaves us empty when we actually get what we want, right? Like when we end up achieving this goal that was true to us, it doesn't even feel good. So the importance behind clarity, I wouldn't even know where to start. Like I need 30 minutes on talking about just this, right? So the question is like, how do we actually find clarity? How do we know if our goal is true to us? Then there's some principles and methods that I'm going to give you that you can follow to help find that clarity. So the first step before you go into like planning the goal, writing out, the actions and behaviors that you need to have, you need to work out like, why am I chasing this? Now, if we create relevancy here to maybe a goal you might have, whether that be get stronger, maybe let's go something a bit more tangible. Maybe it's lose 10 kilos, lose 5 kilos, be able to lift X amount of weight. Why are we setting that? And does it align with ourselves? Like, are we achieving that because we feel like maybe our partner is telling us that we need to achieve that? Do we feel pressured from like a social point of view that we must achieve that to do we need to look a certain way to feel a certain way? It's important to try and look at like all the external pressures that might be coming to you, because at the end of the day, and this is the big part, if the goal is not true to you, you likely will not see it through. And by the off chance that you do see it through, like I was saying before, it will not feel very fulfilling when you achieve it. You'll likely achieve it and go, oh, I was kind of expecting more from it. But when it is true to you, that feeling you get when you achieve something is just phenomenal. And that's why we have to hunt clarity. And that's what I just think, that we need to spend a lot of time knowing who we are as people before we can just go and set goals. And I think that's a step process that is often missed. So in terms of clarity, right? Clarity comes from understanding certain things about ourselves, such as like values, value behaviors, the roles we play in the world, our beliefs of life. And we do not have time to cover all of that. So what we're going to do is we're going to touch on values and behaviors, okay? And then we're going to talk about extrinsic and intrinsic motivators. So values. Values are things that we hold dear to our heart, that we believe, or that make us happy, right? So for me, that might be something like health and fitness. Now, something you can do before you set a goal, and I think I call this like an alignment process, is actually list out all of your values that you feel is important to you. So for example, health and fitness, family, connection, social connection. I'm very one-dimensional, clearly, but list out as many as you can think of, and don't just put them down for the sake of it, but put some thought into it. And then out of those values, you can turn them into behaviors. So for example, if mine was health and fitness, which it is, that some of my behaviors would be, I like to eat clean. I like to make sure I'm always cooking healthy meals that are full of vegetables, right? I like to make sure I'm going to the gym X amount of times per week. You list out all of the behaviors that you feel like fits into that value, okay? Same for, like, let's say it was connection. It might be like, I want to call my mom daily. I want to, look after take my kids to school as much as I can. Put down all of those behaviors. And what this will do is this will help you remind you of what's actually important in life and what's actually important to you. And then you can see before you go into this goal setting process, if these goals that you're about to set actually align with who you are as a person, and if they actually have value. And that will help you remove the superficial goals that probably aren't as important to you. And it will also help you understand what you're setting so that you can build more power behind it. There's an example of clarity that always sticks with me. So I remember, I've run a marathon, big whoop, but I ran a marathon, and I remember when I did it, I actually found it okay, right? And now, before we get too excited, I ran a 10-kilometer a while ago that I had no purpose behind, no clarity. I just wanted to run it, and it was horrible for me mentally, right? And the thing that I learned from that experience is that clarity is power. And when you have a why, you can bear the how. And sometimes as a population, we beat ourselves down because we didn't achieve X, because we're lazy, didn't work hard enough. And maybe there's some truth in that, but a better way of maybe looking at it is like, we didn't actually understand why we wanted to do something to the level that we probably should have. If you're struggling with the how, you've always got to revert back to the why. And that's what this is all about. So once you've got your values and behavior statements, hopefully you should feel a little bit more aligned with who you are and what's important to you. And then you can have a look at this goal. Before you even look at this goal, you can have a look at your extrinsic and intrinsic motivators. So an example of an extrinsic motivator be like, I want to achieve a marathon because I want my friends to think I'm cool. I want my achieve a marathon so I get a medal. I want to run 10K so I can post a photo on social media. Like, those are more extrinsic motivators. They tend to get a negative rap, but they're fine. You can have extrinsic motivators. The important thing is that you have intrinsic motivators attached to that goal as well. So if like, for example, marathon's an easy one. If it was a marathon, you could say to yourself, I want to achieve a marathon. Yeah, I want to post a photo on social media, which sounds silly, or I want to get the medal and take it home and show my kids. But I also, from an intrinsic point of view, I want to be able to do something that I said I was going to do, and I want to see it through, because that's the type of person I am. Goals need to have both. We need to have that trophy, and then we need to have the feeling of fulfillment behind it, which comes from deep meaning behind it, such as, I want my kids to be proud of me for doing X, Y, and Z. I want to be proud of myself because I did X, Y, and Z. So I hope this small section gives you a better understanding of why understanding your goal before you set your goal is really important. I would love to touch on more of this. These webinars have got to be short, so we're going to make them short. Okay. The next one is, can't even read that. Let's go back for a second. Creating your goal. So creating your goal. Now, you may have heard of SMART before. Now, I've changed SMART, which probably goes against everything that is in SMART because it's very well researched, but there's a reason for this. And I've seen a lot of clients follow the SMART process. And I feel like this new SMART, which I've highlighted here, works a lot better for people, right? So the first one is specific. So making your goal very specific. If it lacks clarity, if you're not 100% sure on what it is, like let's say you say, I want to be able to run better versus I want to be able to run 800 meters in X, Y, and Z by X, Y, and Z. The more specific it is, the more you're going to be held accountable to it. The next one is measurable. Okay. How do you measure it? How do you measure progress? What's classed as the achievement or not? If you want to run a kilometer, right? That's a very measurable goal. You can go, okay, well, I know I can track exactly how much a kilometer is versus I want to run pretty far. So specific and measurable are fantastic because they give us clarity, all right? And everything with goal setting is all about clarity. Confusion causes chaos. We want to get clear. The third one is attainable and realistic. And I say this all the time with clients is they'll come in and they'll want to achieve, they've never eaten healthy in their life or they've never trained in their life. And they want to, look like Arnold Schwarzenegger or in 6 weeks. You need to give yourself a reasonable amount of time, okay? It's hard to work. It's better to undershoot, okay, than overshoot. It's better to set small goals, build confidence, and keep adding them rather than setting some ridiculously large goal that you can't hit in that time, beating yourself down, beating you down your self-worth, and then just constantly repeating that process. And I'm sure that there's many of us that have done that. I know myself, I've definitely done that. And you attaching your self-worth to this goal. And that can be really negative for you, right? Goals are simply something to aim at. We don't attach our self-worth to it. Now, the fourth one here is what I've been speaking about most of this presentation. It's about having a goal real to you, okay? There's no point setting something that is not 100% true to yourself. So whatever you set, make sure you put the time and energy getting clear. Ask yourself thought-provoking questions. How would I feel if I achieved X? How would I feel if I didn't achieve X? Am I setting this because I want to dive into it? Really, really dive into it. Put 5 or 6 questions down, 10, 15 questions down. The more likely you are to achieve it, okay? The last one is time. And I know this with working with individuals in a team, and I'm sure you have this in a work setting, but if there's not a deadline on a project, it's not going to get done. And sometimes setting a time can be really, really powerful motivator. And that can go the other side too, that if you're setting an unrealistic time, that can be damaging. So those are kind of the 5-step process of setting a goal. And they sound a little corny. They do for me anyway. Maybe I've seen them too many times, but they actually really do work. And the people that use this formula, they do get a really good result. And I think that we can look at different areas of life to set goals to, right? Like, it doesn't necessarily just need to be health and fitness. And I think that these are transferable skills that you can apply to everything. Last one, which I can't read that. So we're going to go achieving your goal. Okay. This is just a couple of take-home pointers for you to make sure that once you've done criteria, these are just the things to help you essentially achieve your goal. A few things. First one, goals are best served with actions. So for example, if you had a goal of running 10 kilometers, what does your monthly progress look like? What do you do on a weekly basis, a daily basis, an hourly basis? You need to have actions that are associated with that goal. For example, if you're someone who, wants to lose 5 kilos, the actions that you're going to take is like, I'm going to go grocery shopping on a Sunday. I'm going to cook my meals on a Sunday and a Wednesday. So I've got meals prepared for the week. That could be an example of one action. There's also, I guess reverse to that is the actions that you will not be partaking. Maybe you'll limit the social encounters on the Saturday night. So think about actions as in double-edged swords here. Like, what will you do and what won't you do? And that's a big thing about discipline, is understanding both sides of the coin. I don't really know the saying. You get the point. Goals should be diverse. I think with this, if you think about diversity from a goal perspective, sometimes we get really set on one goal. We're very confusing as human beings. We need to have more than one goal a lot of the time. And I think miniature goals within the goal are a good way of looking at it. So if you want to run 1 kilometer, have success points, have a 200-meter run, a 400, a 600, 800, right? Give yourself opportunities to succeed rather than just that one big thing. Sometimes goals are not about the success. Sometimes goals are simply something to aim at. So you need to make them diversify it as much as you can. Goals change. So number 3, goals should be revised. 100% things change. We change. We should be changing. So what you want now when you're setting 3-year goal is going to change, right? So you need to look at these things regularly. And that comes down to clarity too, like revisiting who you are as a person. These clarity moments will help you reset goals that are more true to you. And the last one that I'll leave you guys with is separate self-worth from the goal. There's a really good person called Mojo Crow. He's Ben Crow, and he runs a company called Mojo Crow. He works with like Ash Barty. I think he might have worked with Shane Warne as well, but he's essentially their mindset coach. And he used to say it really well, really good for Ash Barty. He used to say something along the lines of, you are not the goal. Just because you want to win the Grand Slam doesn't mean that if you don't, you're not worth anything. It is simply something to aim at. All of the things that you get joy out of in your life are from doing the things that will give you that or won't give you that. What is in your control is how you feel about yourself. And the point I'm trying to make, that I'm butchering the quote, whatever the quote was, but is that goals are something to aim at. Don't get so caught up that if you don't achieve it, you don't achieve it. Like if you set something a little bit ridiculous, it's ridiculous, and you achieve 80%, like awesome. You leveled up 80%. So health and fitness is one big crazy journey, and I've been doing this a long time for myself, and I'm still on that journey. I still fail with it all. I still set ridiculously stupid goals that I don't achieve. I still feel like crap when I don't. It is a continuously evolving process, and I hope that these 3 things have helped you learn a few little things about how to set some goals. Anyway, thank you very much.